So tell me what's going on here.
So here we have a lot of angry parents and students, high school students and parents, angered and protesting Mayor Mike Bloomberg's policies around education. He's proposing budget cuts while giving corporations like Bank of America tax breaks. You know, all these people behind me pay more taxes than Bank of America and General Electric. So that calls into question the values that Mike Bloomberg is not addressing, where he's allowing corporations and big companies, giving them more priority over students and the working class. So it's a classic clash between the 1%, Mike Bloomberg, who represents the 1%, and the 99%. So we're here to reclaim our schools and say we're going to save our schools. But we're not going to end there, because we're going to save our schools, but we also need to transform our schools, because last year, in 2011, every day, five students would be arrested by the NYPD, and not coincidentally, 90% of them were Latino and African American. So we are calling for the demilitarization of our schools, in which we need to regain control of the NYPD and demilitarize it and regain community control over it. So we're saying demilitarize it and end that institutional racism that exists within the NYPD and ultimately affects students in New York City every day.
Cool, man. I mean, why do you think this is happening? Like, why is there such an attack on the education system like this?
You know, there's a big wave of privatization, and you know, the biggest proponent of that is Mike Bloomberg. You know, he's calling for these charter schools and privatization of schools, along with the Department of Education, the Panel for Educational Policy. So we're seeing schools being privatized and shifted to the private sector, and then it becomes a clash between public versus private, and then that's where fees come up, and that's where students become disenfranchised, and that's where inequality arises. So it's really a clash between public versus private. We need to reclaim the public sector of our education, in which we have equal funding for all schools, especially for oppressed communities of color and schools that are underrepresented.
And what are we doing to fight this?
So we have a whole lot of tactics all over New York City. You know, it goes from school occupation to reclaiming them, setting up alternative schools, where we are claiming that we need to democratize our schools, building student syndicalism at the same time, while building collective power through rallies, marches, actions, and demanding a fair education, and working with the city council and electing a new mayor that really represents the working class and the public. And that comes with constant building collective power through the union, through UFT, to radicalize the UFT, to say no to Mayor Bloomberg's budget cuts, and say that corporations need to pay bigger taxes, the rich need to pay higher taxes with millionaires, as Warren Buffett said, so we have more funding for education. It's very simple. So we are building this collective power through action and using diversity tactics through occupations, through rallies, through pressuring our elected representatives, all within one sphere of building that collective power into the unified message that education is a right and not a privilege.
Sweet, man. Anything else you want to say?
I think that's it. Yeah.
That was great.
Cool. Yeah, thanks.